Parents who tried their best to raise their kids to be good humans but they turned out to be jerks. What do you wish you did differently? I'm speaking as a teacher, but I've seen wildly different siblings. I think parents need to get a handle on that dynamic. A lot of perfectionist older siblings and younger ones who can't achieve at that level and act out instead to find how they can earn attention. Be very careful who you have kids with. If I could do it all over again, I would have chosen better. They ended up with one responsible parent who was completely overwhelmed trying to do the job of two people. The mom of one of the Columbine shooters gave a TED talk about this. You don't have to win every power struggle. I don't have jerk kids. But I do think I've learned a lot from having 4 very different kids, and I think too many parents think the same strategies work for all kids, i.e., rule consequence behavior falls in line, rinse and repeat, and 2. Focus on the behavior rather than the cause. If you have a kid who doesn't respond to your parenting style/philosophy, you should rethink your approach. It's not all the kid's fault. Some kids will burn their lives to the ground to make a point. I have one like that. For too long, it was a vicious cycle of *kid acts out. *I punish. *kid is angry, acts out more. *I punish harder. *kid is angrier, acts out even more. *I punish even harder. And on and on and on and on. Something needs to break the cycle. For instance, if your kid is challenging your authority, it's usually a bid for more independence. They're trying to be more mature, and they want your adult respect. You don't have to excuse the bad behavior, consequences are okay. But you also have to look for ways to help your kid get that need met. You don't have to tie it to the actual incident, so it doesn't look like a reward. Give them more responsibility for themselves. Let him walk to school alone if he doesn't get to do that. Quit bugging him so much about what he does with his free time, even if you think he should be getting more fresh air. Look for any opportunity to let him choose something. We're going to do something as a family on Sunday. You can choose what we do or where we eat or whatever. Don't tell him when he has to do his chores. Let him set his Saturday schedule. I need you to mow the lawn and do the dishes today. You can do it any time between now and 6 p.m. If you address the cause of the behavior, it's going to do way more to correct a bad behavior, and you'll also get more respect from your kid. If you insist on winning every power struggle, your kid is going to see everything as a fight. Edit. I need to give my wife credit for helping me understand this over the years. She's not only a great mom and wife, she's also a really good therapist. She's gained a lot of perspective working with other kids and parents and working on those relationships. One of the saddest things I've ever read is about Elliot Rodger's parents. I'm sure they made mistakes, but they saw it coming. He, Elliot's father, recalls with a twinge of regret the what could have been moment when Elliot's alarmed mother called police on her son, but they left after Elliot convinced them that his online rantings were harmless. At that point Elliot had already purchased 3 guns and had been practicing at a firing range in preparation for his retribution. IIRC, his parents sent him to therapy for years, but they couldn't force him to go once he turned 18. It seems like they tried everything they could, and their son still ended up being a mass murderer. In my opinion, the one defining characteristic of bad parents is being resentful of their own children. Resentful that they took some of their freedom, resentful of their youth, resentful of their opportunities, resentful of their intelligence, resentful of their beauty, resentful of their possessions, resentful of their education, resentful of their accomplishments, resentful of their happiness, etc. I think this is far more common than most people realize. These parents may consciously provide for their kids while they unconsciously sabotage them. The kids pick up on this and end up aspiring to their parents' unspoken expectations. Good parents want their kids to exceed their own achievements and, most importantly, to be happy. Good parents are empathetic to their children. They're happy when their kids are happy. They're sad when their kids are sad. Resentful parents don't really want their kids to be happy unless they credit the parents for their happiness. No achievement belongs to the kids, but every failure does. I wish I knew that some grandparents shouldn't be allowed to have a relationship with a vulnerable, easily manipulated child. I wish I knew it was okay to cut people out of your life. I worked with youth for a while in a poor rural part of America, and in my anecdotal experience there are 2 types of kids that can turn into bad humans. 1. They've just had tough lives and no good role models. If you get to know them you realize they are just normal kids that have never been given the tools, opportunity, or encouragement to act any different. If Noon figures out how to intervene, it becomes a pattern of life for them that spirals out of control. 2. Kids that never suffer the consequences of their actions. They tend to have really nice caregivers who have a knack for getting their kids out of trouble. When I say they don't suffer consequences, I mean literally. Their parents do their homework, their parents lie for them, their parents don't ever tell them no. Their caregivers also don't supervise them, but whenever anything happens they are easily manipulated by their child and take whatever their child says as gospel truth without question. And although the parents don't supervise their children, they seem all too willing to give them everything their child asks for, within the confines of their economic class. The caregivers are somehow both emotionally neglectful but also always there to help their child out of a jam. In a way that feels like they want to be manipulated by their child. Kids in the first category will do something bad and you go, how could they be so stupid? When kids in the second category do something bad, your reaction is, it's only a matter of time before they kill someone. I knew a lot of young adults that got in trouble with the law, but it was only people from category 2 that got tried for murder and manslaughter. Generally speaking, if you try to teach your kid something and not be the example, you might as well not have wasted your time. Ugh. We talked to our son about everything under the sun. We had an open forum. We talked extensively about money management, sexuality, dating, how to treat other people, drug use, alcoholism, and its consequences. He and I also watched a ton of documentaries together on all of the above topics. I have a thing for shows like Underground Inc., Drugs Inc., Broken, and mini-series like Dopesick. Once he turned 18, he began to do literally everything we advised against. It's been a hard few years. After losing his GF, losing his job and spending some time in jail, I think he's starting to listen. He's been doing a very good job lately. We love him and we support him despite how hard it's been. I feel bad even typing this. It's really tough to look back and legitimately say what could have been done differently. What I can say to coming parents is, don't give up on your kid. Do the best you can. You can't control everything. Not me, but my parents have discussed what they wished they had done differently for my brother in order to prevent him from becoming a violent, homeless, drug-addicted snotball of a person. They wish they had sent him to therapy before problems ever started, and that they had reacted quicker and sent him sooner when they did. They wish they hadn't yelled so much at all of us. That they had been more patient and forgiving of our mistakes. They wish a lot. I have one child, the youngest, who I'm starting to worry about. He's tall, athletic, attractive, and very charismatic. I feel like it's a constant battle between teaching him respect and humility and the worship he gets at school. At his age, he's not prepared to deal with all these peers who want his attention, tell him how great he is, and the girls lining up to talk to him. Yet, don't we all wish we had this problem as teens? Anyway, it's a struggle. He's gotten cocky and thinks life will just keep on treating him like a king. And maybe it will. He's got the type of personality that makes people want him around. But he needs to treat others with the same respect he expects for himself. Confidence is good, but it needs to be combined with kindness. Our other children are very level-headed and what we feel are good people. I hope we get to properly tech this to our youngest and that he takes it to heart and chooses to be a good person. We wanted our kids to be happy, so I think we coddled and spoiled them. They aren't ready to function independently in the adult world. In retrospect, I think learning some hard lessons growing up helps prepare them and is less damaging than learning those lessons as adults. *Edit, to clarify, they aren't jerks, just not ready to be adults. Removed. Currently pregnant and acutely scanning this thread to take note of what not to do. What is the most successful lie in the history? If you tell the truth you won't be in trouble. Yeah mom, I fell for that a few times and learned that lesson quickly. During WW2 the British put faked documents on a corpse and dropped the body in the waters to be found by the Axis. It detailed an attack that never happened. Hey, race the best part. The plans for D-Day were found in a similar manner. The actual plans. But they were ignored cause the Nazi leaders thought it was just another ruse. One of the most impressive ones was when Great Britain convinced everyone during World War II that carrots were the reason why their vision was great, when it was really the recently discovered airborne interception radar technologies. I still know people that are convinced eating carrots as kids will ensure 2020's vision for life. The lie that made a man the ruler of a third or quarter of humankind. Darius the Great, r. 522,486 BC, governed the Achaemenid Empire at its peak. His rule extended from the Indus Valley to mainland Greece and from the Scythian steppes to Egypt. A remarkably high and possibly unparalleled percentage of the world population were his subjects. Darius reorganized the satrapies, which made the administrative system of his empire more efficient, and introduced major financial reforms as well. It was never a secret that Darius became the king of kings after a successful coup. He and a small group of other aristocrats, primary sources refer to 7 men in total, infiltrated the residence of the previous ruler and killed him after a brief clash with his guards. Shortly afterwards, Darius, who was also a member of the royal house, emerged as the leader of the conspirators and assumed full power. So far so good. Things become strange when it comes to the identity of Darius' predecessor. As far as the primary sources are concerned, Cyrus the Great, r. 559,530 BC, had 2 sons, Cambyses, r. 530,522 BC, and Bardiya. The former succeeded him as king of kings, while the latter was given governorship over the eastern provinces. Fearful of opposition, Cambyses had his brother assassinated, but kept it a secret. Then he undertook the campaign that ended up bringing Egypt into the Persian fold. While Cambyses was in Egypt, he started acting cruelly and erratically, suspected everyone, disrespected the local traditions and the sort. Then a rebellion broke out back in Persia led by a Magus, Zoroastrian priest, named Gamada. The man claimed to be Bardiya, and the people, ignorant of the latter's death, flocked to his banner. It also helped that he took short-term populist measures such as tax cuts. Cambyses rushed home to quell the revolt, but died on the journey. His death was listed as an accident or even a suicide out of desperation for the usurpation. Gamada got to rule as Bardiya and even took over the latter's harem. Almost nobody suspected he was an impostor, because on top of everything else he also bore an uncanny physical resemblance to the dead prince. The first man to suspect something was off was a nobleman named Otanes, who would later become one of Darius' 6 companions. Otanes knew about Gamada's existence and was also aware that at some point his ears had been cut off as a punishment. So he asked his daughter, who was Bardiya's, and now Gamada's, wife, to check his ears while he slept. The truth was brought to the light. Needless to say, the story was very convenient for Darius. By killing Gamada, he saved the empire from a fraudulent, cunning, and ruthless liar who had gone as far as to assume a dead man's identity and risk civil war in order to take the throne for himself. Darius simply punished him for his crimes and reinstated the royal office to the house it belonged to, the Achaemenid dynasty. But what if the whole story was a lie? What if there was no Gamada, and the man Darius killed was the real Bardiya? Indeed, scholars have noticed a lot of problems with the traditional narrative, apart from its convenience. How could the real Bardiya's death be kept secret for so long from everyone except a simple magus, and what for? How likely is it that Bardiya had a doppelganger who had also the knowledge, courage, and brains necessary to take his place at the right moment? And how is it possible that not even Bardiya's wives and inner circle were able to see through Gamada's lies? Some scholars go as far as to suspect that Cambyses' madness might have been the product of Darius' propaganda. Herodotus, for example, narrates that the king looted Egyptian temples, insulted the local gods and even killed the sacred bull Apis. The problem is, none of that appears in any contemporary Egyptian source. In fact, there are inscriptions showing that Cambyses honored the bull that died in 524 BC with a rich sarcophagus. If things were so, it cannot be excluded that Cambyses was also assassinated by Darius, who we know served as his spear-bearer. His death might have prompted his brother Bardiya to take power, since Cambyses was childless. Darius proceeded to eliminate him too and then created the lie about Gamada. Of course, it cannot be excluded that Bardiya did indeed rebel against Cambyses. That doesn't change the crux of the matter, which is the story about Gamada. So there you have it. One of the most powerful monarchs of antiquity and a possible lie that went unquestioned for millennia by almost everyone. Please listen carefully as our menu items have recently changed. Fat will make you fat. Eating that full of sugar pre-made meal won't. I acknowledge that I have read and agree to the above terms and conditions. We don't know the most successful lie because it's a lie we don't know of yet. Iceland and Greenland. We are experiencing higher than normal call volume. Your call is very important to us. Every single customer service line. Edit, my first awards, with an S, ever. Thank you. Just get good marks in high school. Once you go to a top-tier college, your life is practically set and sorted. You are not beautiful. But you could be with this product. There are hot singles in my area. That diamonds are valuable. Beethoven was Austrian. Hitler was German. Nicely done, Austria. What one mistake ended your career? Lifting wrong. 14 years of arboriculture coming to an end now. Not sure of the next job. Worked retail pharmacy for 10-ish years. One day in the drive-thru we had a belligerent patient. Guy's doc sent his script to our other chain about 1.5 miles down the road. We were on the same street, addresses get mixed up all the time. No biggie, give me 10 minutes and I'll have it ready. Dude just starts laying into me for no reason. Calls me an idiot. Calls me incompetent. Says he knows where his doctor sent it and I'm a lazy, lying piece of shit. Etc., etc. After a few minutes going back and forth, with this guy yelling loud enough in my drive-thru that other staff inside the store can hear him, I tell him he needs to leave and find a new pharmacy. Guy lays into me again. Refuses to leave. I tell him fuck off or I'm calling the police. Apparently that was over the line for my company. No interview with HR. No discipline. No suspension. Just straight up fired my ass about 3 weeks later after internal investigation. Led and recruited a sales team. One of the female sellers admitted that our CEO was sexually harassing her. Got her to confess to our sales manager. Found out that more of our female staff had similar experiences, so I rallied them as I needed evidence before proceeding. CEO got an earful from HR, proceeds to pressure all his female victims until one of them drops my name. I get fired. One of the directors wasn't happy with some work I'd done, started poking me hard with his finger to punctuate his comments. I punctuated back considerably more forcefully. Called the HR lady the angel of death to a coworker on chat. HR was in a different state, so anytime they came to town we all knew it was most likely to lay off people. Angel of death came to get me shortly after. Built a castle out of Christmas chocolate biscuit boxes in the warehouse of a major retailer on a night shift and proceeded to fall asleep in it for a few hours. I was the assistant director at a summer camp. One of the very last nights was a sleepover night where all of the campers were there, but not all of the regular day staff. 2 of the counselors were caught drinking beer, and in an attempt to weasel his way out, one of them told the head of the camp that I gave him permission to do so. I most definitely had not. While I didn't get fired on the spot or have my year-end bonus withheld like the other 2, I was told I wouldn't be asked back again for next year, where there had already been talks of me being a full director in the future. Browsing for another job while at the job. Talked about comp to another employee. They told the manager about it. Got fired. The good part is it's illegal and the idiot created a paper trail around it. They settled out of court for way more than they would have saved by people not talking about comp. Not exactly a career, but I worked in a fast food spot that didn't have any air conditioning, and there's a workers' law where I live that states once it gets to a certain temp in the building they legally can't stay open. I brought a thermometer to work. I sent a scathing email about my boss directly to my boss. It wasn't meant for him. To this day I still have no idea what possessed me to put his name in the address bar. I noticed his name the exact moment I hit send. You have never felt that much panic. Sent an email to someone I thought was helping me, threw me under the bus. I was a part-time intern making $9 an hour, USD, and my boss asked if I had any plans for the weekend. I had said I was going to buy a new car, very much old and used as that's what I could afford, and he asked if I was buying a brand new car. My response was that my budget isn't big enough for a new car, and a couple weeks later during my one-year review my manager said they didn't have the work for me and that I was disrespectful for telling the boss I didn't make enough money. At the time I was living comfortably as a college student, just needed different transportation. I tried not to be disrespectful, but apparently I was. Derailed it a bit, took some years to recover. Got security responsibilities added to my duties as sysadmin at a small university. Was asked by my boss, the IT director, to do a security audit. He asked me to report on the audit at a department meeting. I asked if I could present my results to him privately instead and have him present to the meeting, but he insisted I could take care of it. My report showed major security holes, demonstrations of tests of said holes and recommendations for patching said holes. Many of the patches were at the level of change the administrator password from password to something less obvious. As my political acumen was near zero at the time, I didn't realize how the report on major security problems made the IT director look completely incompetent in front of the entire department. He had built and configured the campus computer system pretty much on his own, at least in his mind, and was quite proud of his accomplishment. He suspended me on the spot, demoted me and tried to convince the university to fire me and try to bring me up on criminal charges for hacking into the university's computer systems. Had a workplace accident, fall from height. Didn't get fired but broke enough bones that I'll never work in that industry again.